And we are back once again
It's the Horror Guys.
with another horrible podcast.
I hope it's not a horrible podcast.
Okay, the horrible movies.
Yeah, well, they're not horrible movies either.
We're not doing it right or something then.
Using the wrong word. This is episode 164, and I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brian, and as usual, we've got 4 horror films and a horror short film for you today.
Yep.
What do we got?
Do. Well, we got Prince of Darkness from 1987.
Ooh, John Carpenter.
And we got Hagazuusa.
What?
Yeah.
Spell it?
Hagazuusa.
Hagazuusa.
Yeah, that ain't right. Yeah. A French movie, Frontiers, with the S in parentheses.
You know, I have no idea what the title means. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with what happens in the film. There's no frontier.
Yeah, they do. They
Okay, there's
encounter
a road sign.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Frontier. Yeah.
All right, whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
And we go to the deep south with Jug Face.
Your Jug Face sounded
And we've
really
got a short.
dumb. I wasn't looking forward to Jug Face.
Oh, I was so dreading that, and it ended up being
I think it's the
so
best thing we
really,
saw all week.
Really good. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Prince of Darkness is mighty good.
Well, yeah, but that's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so all of those are available to read on horrorguys.com. As usual, we post those one a day, as always, and then we do the podcast on the weekend to catch up and get everything out to you audio-wise. But on the other channel, we've got horrorbulletin.com, which is our weekly newsletter, which has all the same stuff delivered to your email box, plus bonus reviews. Bonus reviews.
Wow.
This week, the 2 bonus films that we're not going to talk about, but you can read the reviews on horrorbulletin.com, is The Mask of Fu Manchu from 1932.
Oh, boy.
That was a hoot.
Yeah, it was. Now, if you can get back past the stereotypes and the racisms and the things, it's actually a very interesting movie.
The bar on the stereotypes and racism is pretty high on this one.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever wondered why they don't make Fu Manchu films anymore, watch this and it'll be pretty obvious.
Well, if they did them now, they would probably really cast Asian actors.
Yeah.
And they could do it, a lot more politically correct than this one was.
No, I think really the whole point of that is how evil the Chinese are. Racially, they're just all bad.
So? Well, no, Fu Manchu was evil.
The evil yellow menace.
Well,
yeah, I think the whole idea is kind of racist.
Okay,
it's not just him; it's the whole everybody.
Well, they played that up, but but for a remake, I think a remake would be doable. I think they could pull it off and emphasize that it's this guy. I mean, when they have a James Bond villain, doesn't mean that the entire country of that James Bond villain is evil. It's
Have you seen the 1980s James Bond movies?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they tend to be kind of politically incorrect too. Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect Fu Manchu is not something we will ever see a real remake of.
Probably not, yeah.
And the other one on the newsletter is The Ghoul from 1933. And in my opinion, this was kind of a lazy effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't try real hard with that one.
They kind of threw this together.
A couple of Boris Karloff films.
Uh-huh.
All right, and before we get going, also should point out that we got books. The Horror Guys Guides on. Go to Horror Bulletin. No. HorrorGuys.com/books. Too many websites. Horror Guys is the real website. Horror Bulletin is the newsletter website. So yeah, you can pick up the books on the horror films of Vincent Price, the books, the Horror Guy's Guide to Universal Studios Shock Theater and Son of Shock, the Horror Guy's Guide to the Hammer horror films. We've gone through every single film Hammer put out up into the 2020s, and also the Silent Age of Horror, all the good, well, not all of them, but the best of the silent horror films. And there's more coming soon.
All right.
Ow,
werewolves.
It could be
somebody
working
on
related.
a werewolf
Could
book.
be something to do with werewolves.
Could be.
All right, so let's get going. This week we've got, to start us off, our classic film is not that old. I remember when this came out. You remember when this came out?
I remember. I saw it at the theater when it came out.
Why do we remember this? Because we're old.
We're old.
1987's Prince of Darkness, written and directed by John. Is John Carpenter dead?
No,
he's not. Okay,
no.
He's looked that way since about the 90s.
That keeps popping up, though, and he keeps having to disprove it for some reason.
He hasn't done much lately, though.
No,
I imagine he is pretty old.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah. Okay, well, this one stars Donald Pleasance, who is absolutely dead, Lisa Blount, Jameson Parker, an hour and 42 minutes. There is a trailer on the show notes if you've never heard of this one. It was not a big success at the time, I don't remember.
No, but it has endured, and it's gotten more of a cult following over the years.
Cult following? I see what you did there.
Yeah.
All right, so spoiler-free. We don't have a spoiler-free
Nobody
on this
wrote
one.
up a spoiler-free judgment zone. Well, stuff
Bad
happens.
things happens.
Yeah, there's a evil in a vat, and stuff happens.
All right, well, what happens then with the spoilers?
Well, if you haven't seen it by now, I guess I've lost my notes. Please stand by. Well, it opens at a university, and young Jameson Parker is he's Brian Marsh, spots Catherine on campus and stares at her on the way to a lecture. He's sweet on her. Well, he comes off a little bit creepy, a little bit stalkery.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He follows her around for about 15 minutes at the start of the film, and it's very stalkery.
Yeah. But it works out okay. Well, in the meantime, at the same time, a nun finds an old man dead in his bed with a strange box on his lap. And the priest wants to know what was up with the box and reads about it. The sleeper awakens, says the book that he was holding, and the box itself holds a big key. Professor Birach notices the sun and moon are really close together, as if an eclipse is imminent. Birach talks about the flow of time and how he's the professor at the college where these two people I just mentioned are. He talks about time and how reality breaks down at the subatomic level. Brian watches Catherine some more at night with her boyfriend, or, maybe not boyfriend, he's hoping, and he, is kind of stalkery still. Well, the priest writes a letter asking for assistance. A nun goes to see Birach and takes him to see the priest. The priest shows him the old man's diary and asks for his help. And credits roll.
A lot has happened.
Yeah,
a bunch of different little scenes
setup.
there, all disjointed and merged together. A bunch of weird stuff going on.
Yeah. Well, the priest, who is Donald Pleasance, takes Birach to an old church in a run-down part of town. The old dead man lived in this church for 30 years, and every day he went down to the basement catacombs, keeping an eye on something down there. Even the Vatican didn't know about this place. And on the altar is a glass cylinder filled with a strange, swirly, glowing liquid. The priest calls it a secret that can no longer be kept, and they can feel the power of the thing. And it's been growing for a month now.
Ooh.
Yeah, more tingly when you get close to it.
Green, glowy liquid.
Mm-hmm. I'm picturing one of those plasma balls where you can touch it, and it's kind of, you can almost feel the tingle, Yeah. Well, Birach tells his students to cancel their plans for the weekend and work on a special project for him. The priest and Birach talk about quantum physics and philosophy. No prison can hold him now, says the priest. Brian and Catherine bond over numbers and have sex. That escalates quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
We see that there are a lot of very strange homeless people in the neighborhood around the church. They seem to be
I think the most
being drawn in.
The most difficult thing to believe in this movie is what you said in the beginning of that. Birach tells his students to cancel their plans for the weekend and work on a special project for him.
Well, it's
back when I was teaching, I couldn't get the students to answer 5 questions at the end of the chapter, much less give up their whole weekend.
They're really dedicated students. Plus, it's extra credit.
It's fantasy.
He promises, he makes a deal with them. He makes it worth them. Makes it worth it to them. Well, the students, along with Dr. Lehigh, arrive at the church, but none of them really knows why they are there. Still, they unpack and set up all their equipment. They spot the homeless people outside, just standing, staring at the building. The priest arrives. He notices both the homeless people and the strange conjunction of the sun and the moon in the sky that don't seem to be actually moving or getting closer.
This conjunction seems to go on for days.
Yeah.
That's not the way sky works.
That's what's the whole atmosphere of the movie is like, well, something's not right, but you can't quite identify what it is, and it's a feeling of suspense and ominous.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, finally, they all go down to the basement and look at the swirly stuff, and they're all creeped out just being near the stuff. And then they notice that worms are appearing all over the building's windows. They examine the container and find it can only be opened from the inside. One of the students, who isn't spending the night, gets impaled by the homeless folks when he leaves.
Oops.
Yeah. Well, Brian explains that the stuff in the tube is becoming a life form. Nothing should be able to do what it's doing. Lisa translates the book that was in the basement, and it's like a big crypt altar kind of thing, and she's translating that. It's full of religious stuff that also involves math, like really super advanced math, and involves an extraterrestrial visitor. Evil, turns out, is a tangible substance.
I got a handful of evil right here.
Yeah, and it's a whole cylinder full of liquid evil. Yeah. Brian and Catherine come to the conclusion that the tube of influence can influence things in the outside world through telepathy and telekinesis. And meanwhile, the tube starts to leak, and liquid from the tube shoots into the mouth of Susan, one of the students who is alone down there. She starts walking around under the control of the liquid. And Mullen goes looking for her, one of the other students, but she finds him first.
Body count, 1.
Yep.
Actually, 2 if you include the student outside.
Mm-hmm. Birak and the priest talk about the universe of the mind and how we all take as God. They talk philosophy. And
a lot of philosophy talking in this one. Yeah. It's a very talky movie.
Yeah. And if you believe in God, then there must be an equal but opposite version of the same thing, an anti-life version, or an evil God or anti-God, like there is antimatter. Well, Frank goes outside for a break, and the homeless kills him too, while Susan watches approvingly. Night falls, everyone starts having the same dream, something about transmitting through dreams. And the priest says this is a known thing for people who stay too close to the container. They start having this same dream. Susan shoots Lisa full of goo, and it takes her over as well. The two of them kill Calder. There's fewer and fewer students left. Frank's body outside tells them to pray for death as he is eaten by insects. He's already dead, but he's animated. Possessed Calder kills himself in front of everyone. All the doors are barricaded shut from the outside, trapping them inside. The dead start to rise and start coming after the living. Kelly seems to have something growing in her belly, but she wasn't pregnant earlier. It's a fast pregnancy. Well, the sun comes up, but even if they could get outside, the homeless are all still out there. Walter is trapped in the closet, and he watches Kelly decompose as the thing in her belly develops. Kelly wakes up, and Walter panics. Kelly goes to the big mirror and calls for her father. The mirror, that was actually a pretty cool effect. It's like it liquefies, and she reaches into the mirror, into the underworld.
Turns into a portal.
Yeah. She reaches in, and the priest cuts off her hand with an axe, but she just picks it up and puts it back on. That's a problem. Well, Kelly starts to draw the claw of the Prince of Darkness out of the mirror. But Catherine tackles her from behind, and they both fall right through the portal, shutting everything down. All the dead fall down, actually dead now. The homeless people wander off, the surviving humans leave. Birak the priest, Brian, and Walter get away. We're safe, but he's waiting on the other side, says Birak.
He's very patient. He'll be back.
Yes, he is.
All right, well, John Carpenter has said that he was mostly aiming for a feeling of impending dread with this one. The pacing, soundtrack, and slow build-up make that happen. Yeah, there's no real monsters in this one. There's nothing lumbering around killing people. It's just this evil goo possessing people.
Mm-hmm, mostly.
Carpenter also specifically wanted to make a film incorporating the ideas of quantum mechanics and their relationship to religion, but that kind of thing is way too complex to really explain in a horror film. So most of the ideas presented here just sort of sound like nonsensical horror movie blather.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was kind of thought-provoking.
They try to explain it so hard that there's just a lot of talking, and most of it borderline on incomprehensible.
No.
Might work well in a paper or a book, but it's a little bit much here, I thought.
I thought it was interesting.
They just tried too hard to make this make evil scientific.
Nah.
It is good, but the explanations, I think, are just too much. This one did flop at the box office, but has become a bit of a cult hit in the following years. It tries hard, and there is a lot to think about with this one, but there's a lot more suspense than action, and I suspect many people will just find it boring.
I didn't find it boring. I found it fascinating, and I've seen it like 4 times now, 5 times. This might have been the 5th time.
I saw it at the theater, and I did not like it. I thought it was What?
I liked it then. I like it now.
I kept waiting for the monster to show up, and one never did.
Well, you see his hand.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
And then I saw it sometime in the past on TV and didn't think much about it. And then this past week we watched it, and yeah, all right.
And Alice Cooper's in it as one of the homeless people.
He is.
Yeah, which is kind of a funny behind-the-scenes story that I was reading about, where he just showed up on set curious about, because he knew some of the people involved in it and wanted to watch the movie being made. And they said, hey, we need more extras, and you want to be like kind of the lead homeless person. There's no dialogue, but, you want to be in the movie? And he said, okay. And there he was.
Right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And, Alice Cooper, I mean, he probably didn't have to wear a whole lot of makeup for this. All right, which takes us to our next film, Hagazuusa from 2018, written and directed by Lucas Feigelfeld. Stars Alexandra Quinn, Selena Peter, Claudia Martini. Hour 42 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Why don't you look up what Hagazuusa means? Well, I go through the spoiler-free. It's beautifully filmed, sad, creepy, and atmospheric. There's a slowly unwinding plot in there somewhere, too, although it's a little hard to piece together. Yeah, it's very atmospheric, very moody, a very nice-looking film. Not a whole lot happens. But anyway, it's the 15th century in Europe. An old woman and a child walk through the snow, dragging a sled behind them. This is Twelfth Night, sort of a holiday, and they need to get home before dark. Suddenly they stop. It's dark, and there's a weird sound in the woods. Anyway, they make it home and have dinner. So we were expecting something to get them, and nothing did.
No.
3 men wearing animal masks, carrying torches arrive. And in the trailer, these 3 guys look like, some sort of demons or something outside. But in the movie, it's just guys wearing masks.
Yeah, just jerks.
They bang on the doors and windows, terrorizing the woman and child inside. "You should be burned down, you witches! We'll get you!" one shouts. The next morning, Albrin, the little girl, is gathering sticks outside and hears a bell ringing in the distance. The old woman, who is actually her mother, then grabs her heart and collapses in the snow. Albrin, it says here Auburn, isn't he? Typo. Autocorrect is rough on some of these foreign names.
It is, yeah.
Albrin takes her place back home and cares for her, but it doesn't look hopeful. A very dour-looking doctor arrives and examines her. She's got a big tumor on one side, and the doctor just leaves silently. There's really nothing to be done. That night, Mother develops a taste for blood and eats their cat and then runs off. Wait, what? That came out of nowhere.
Ate their cat?
Not a lot of tumors do that to you.
Yikes.
The next morning, Albrin goes looking for her mother and follows her into the woods. She finds her, dead and covered in snakes. Remember, it's like winter and snow, and snakes don't do well in snow, so where'd they come from?
Bad snakes, evil snakes, magic snakes.
Years pass. Albrin is now grown up and has a baby of her own. The local children all think she's a witch, too. Her sort of neighbor Swinda is nice to her, but no one else is. Albrin raises goats and sells milk and cheese. Swinda wants Albrin to go see her priest, who lives in a church full of skulls. What's the deal with churches full of skulls? I mean, if you're like a devil church or something, sure, but these are supposed to be the good guys here.
Yeah, wall made out of skulls. Yeah.
All right. Can't afford a burial? Well, we'll just put you on the shelf over here.
No problem.
Well, he finds her willingness to live all alone to be suspicious and probably sacrilegious. He gives her a painted skull, which she takes home with her. Oh, it's for the gift shop.
Right.
Those are for.
Have a souvenir.
Yeah. Albrin enjoys milking the goats. She enjoys it a little too much, touching herself as she does it. Swinda comes by for a visit, and she brings an apple. She sees the skull in the cabin, and she thinks that's kind of strange, but doesn't ask about it. That night, Albrin has naughty dreams. The next day, Albrin and Swinda get together again, and Swinda says Albrin has nothing to fear from her. They come at night, like animals, and they take you, she warns, and a few months later, you bear a child. Well, we don't know who baby Martha's father is.
No, we never see.
So Swinda is assuming some things about Albrin. Swinda introduces Albrin to her husband, and the three of them lay in the field and eat apples. When they have her alone, Swinda holds Albrin down as her husband rapes Albrin. Well,
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. When Albrin recovers enough to go home, she finds one of her goats has been killed and cut open. This was dark on my screen. I couldn't quite tell. Do you think it was one goat, or did they kill all her goats?
I think just the one.
Okay, because she seemed mighty broke up about one goat.
Well, did she have more than one? I don't know.
I think she did.
Okay, she didn't have goats after that, so it probably was all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
In retaliation, she goes and taints their source of drinking water with a dead, diseased rat. I guess the whole village gets their water from this one stream, and she drops this dead rat in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems kind of a weak revenge. But later,
Effective.
we see one of those bring out your dead guys dragging a cart full of corpses across the field to a burning pit with many other bodies. Albrin smiles at Martha.
She did them good by doing that.
What do you call those bring out your dead guys? the cart puller.
Dead collector. Yeah, I don't know what the official term is.
On the way home, Albrin stops and eats some mushrooms. These aren't the portobello variety, and she doesn't wake up until nearly dark. She then walks through the woods in a daze and then wades out into the muddy swamp. She then drowns her baby in the swamp. She then goes under herself, and there's lots and lots and lots of blood. Eventually, she climbs out of the swamp, totally not dead. That night, she hears sounds coming from the skull in her cabin. She finds the corpse of her dead baby and starts to cry. She puts the dead baby in the boiling saucepan and makes dead baby soup. Dinner time.
Ew.
After eating the dead baby soup, Albrin hallucinates seeing her long-dead mother and runs out into the woods. By morning, her eyes have turned white and her cabin burns down.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Most of this movie just made me say, what?
Things happen.
Yeah.
They're not terribly well explained. All right, well, there's bunches of cool scenery and stuff and fun sets. There's also very little dialogue. It is subtitled, but there's so little said that even if you hate subtitled films, this one's probably bearable.
It's not very talky.
Nah.
Yeah.
She's alone most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it's very, very, very slow and never quite clear what the actual plot is about. It is just a plain old weird film. It's also a very dark film. Literally dark. We made the mistake of watching this one on a bright and sunny afternoon here, and there were several scenes that we couldn't quite tell what was going on due to the low contrast on the TV screen. This is getting to be a really annoying feature with a lot of movies lately.
Well,
They assume
it's
you
so
have these
dark.
ultra super 4K TVs.
Well, and are watching it in a darkened room,
Yeah,
in a brightly lit room. No matter how good the darkness is on the TV.
People went ballistic over that one episode of Game of Thrones that nobody could tell what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think filmmakers would have turned things around since then.
Nah.
Oh, well. So anyway, save this one for late at night, and I don't mean just for the mood. There are themes of superstition, loneliness, and insanity, and it also has lots of old-timey witchcraft allegories thrown in, but very little actually happens. If you're looking for a super atmospheric film that's sure to creep you out, this might be your film. If you don't go to sleep in the middle first.
Yeah, I didn't really dig this one too much. It was okay. It looked nice.
It might be worth a second viewing at some point, but I don't know that we really missed that much.
Yeah.
I think it just they don't explain anything.
Stuff happens, yeah. Did we watch a short?
The Fisherman from 2022.
Ooh, and this was a good one.
Written and directed by Jacob Arbiter. Stars Olivia Rand, Donald Cuff, and Justin Guberski. For only 4 minutes long. It's a short one.
And it's worth it.
And we got a link in the show notes if you just want to watch this one. It's not a trailer or anything.
It's on YouTube for everybody to see.
As are almost all of our shorts. Well, what happens?
Well, a little girl talks to her father. They both have strange red marks on their bodies. It's worse than before. He's really close, she says. He doesn't get up and says, "It's not real, go to bed." Well, except she can see the fisherman in the backyard, and boy, is he creepy. Yeah. She hides under the covers, but we all know how that works, how well that works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does hiding under the covers ever really work?
Sometimes.
It always worked for me. The monsters never did get me.
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, it's very nice. It's super short. Doesn't go where you expect it to.
It certainly does not.
Yeah, and it was one where sometime later I realized something.
What the red marks were.
Oh, that's what that was. And that's what, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, the opening quote alone is very creepy, and the story just makes it worse. Yeah.
Definitely a good one.
Yeah, it's short, it's creepy. The makeup on that guy is excellent.
I think it was a mask.
A mask. Well, whichever it is, yeah.
Whatever it is, he looked good.
It looks really realistic and very creepy.
All right. We've traveled to, where was that other one? Finland? Was where Hagazuusa happened?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, you looked up Hagazuusa. What the heck does it mean?
It just means, it's a variation on hex, hexa, feminine, witch, hag, sorceress.
Okay.
The high middle German, the old German and translation, and
they couldn't call it the witch because that was taken.
Yeah.
All right.
Hagazuusa, Hagzus. Yeah, the feminine, it just means witch, basically.
All right.
Yeah, but it's been translated, and the word has morphed many times.
Where was that from? Finland or Norway or somewhere up in one of them northern places?
I think it was Finland.
Finland, I thought so, yeah. All right, well, now we're going to go to France. Yeah, it's Travel the World Week.
This doesn't make you want to travel to France. I'm sure that France is, nice in a lot of places, and
not here it is.
There's some very
not
nice,
in this movie.
Very nice people in France, but you don't see it in this movie.
All right, 2008's Frontiers, and that's the word frontier with an S in parentheses for some reason. Written and directed by Xavier Gens, stars Karina Testa, Aurélien Week, and Patrick Lagarde. Hour and 48 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
In a spoiler-free judgment zone, it's grim, very violent, and really bloody. Really bloody. If you're looking for a good gore fest, you've come to the right movie. It's well made, good acting, lots of action, twists and turns, and it doesn't make you want to visit France.
And if you do want to visit France, watch this one and then stay home. It's pretty bad.
And this was 2008, 14 years ago, and I completely never heard of it before.
Well, it is subtitled, and that turns a lot of people off. All right, so Yasmin tells us that she is 3 months pregnant, but since the world sucks, she's decided to save her baby from the worst of the world. She's got an abortion scheduled for later. Credits roll as we see scenes of civil unrest and violence throughout France. I don't know what was going on in 2008 in France, but I guess they were having some political stuff going on, a lot of rioting.
Boy,
I assume that that's a historical, real event.
And they sure played it up.
Well,
they made it look like the entire country was in flames.
Yeah, France is burning. Well, a young couple runs from the violence, or at least that's what it looks like. There's a shootout on the street between the police and a bunch of bald criminals, including one named Alex. Yasmin calls Tom and explains that Sammy has been shot and is bleeding out.
Yeah, under the cover of all this stuff going on, they did a robbery.
Yeah, they broke in somewhere and stole some stuff, and Sammy got shot.
Yep.
Well, the group all comes together in an abandoned warehouse, so the young couple isn't really avoiding the violence. They're doing their getaway. Sammy is Yasmin's brother, and she's angry at Alex for causing all this. Tom has a suitcase full of money and wants to know what to do about Sammy's share. But Sammy isn't dead yet. Alex and Yasmin drop Sammy off at the hospital, and Sammy tells Yasmin to keep the baby with his dying breath.
Now you can split up a share.
Now, Tom and Fareed take the money and leave town out to the country. Tom stops the car and tells Fareed to get out. He's keeping all the money. Ha ha, nope, just joking. Didn't look like he was joking.
It didn't. Yeah, he was mean about it.
They head to a little motel way out on the frontier. Yeah, and there's a road or a sign or something that says frontier, and there's an arrow, and that's where the place gets its name from.
Out in the country.
When they go inside, they hear from Gilberta, the woman on the counter, that all the rooms are free. Well, there's a red flag. She calls for Goats, a big man who is gutting an animal in the back room. Tom and Gilberta start making out right away. Claudia is less enthused at taking care of Fareed, but complies with Goats' orders. The group heads to their room for sexy time, and they all get together then for a family-style dinner. I don't know about you, but if I went to a motel out in the country and this happened, it would be very awkward.
Oh, there's just so much awkwardness.
Yeah.
In this. Yeah.
Because they weren't expecting this. It's not like they rented a whorehouse or anything. It's just, well, okay.
It's just really weird and awkward. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Alex and Yasmin are on the road trying to find the motel. Fareed says he's a Muslim and he won't eat the pork, which really offends Getz. They force feed the food to Mother, who's strapped to a chair in the corner. It's all very weird and awkward.
A very Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to the...
Very, very much.
Yeah.
Did we see Mother again after this scene?
No.
It didn't go anywhere, did it?
No.
Yeah, there's a lot in this that looks like, it's the France Chainsaw Massacre. They took a lot of stuff from that for this.
I think so.
A policeman comes to talk to Tom, who says they're on the way to Amsterdam to meet friends. They had nothing to do with the riots, really. The cop then pulls a gun and tries to take their money, but the guys run. Getz beats Tom nearly to death with a big hammer, and Fareed stabs the cop, and they make a run for it. Suddenly, they're in a car chase with Getz right behind them, until they run off a bridge and the car falls 100 feet straight down into an old mine shaft. Bad luck.
Ouch.
Fareed pulls Tom out of the wrecked car, but Tom's in pretty bad shape.
And how much abuse, not just Tom, but all these characters, how much beaten up and abuse that they take throughout the movie.
At this point, I figured Tom was dead. But no, Tom gets beat to death like 3 or 4 more times in this.
Yeah, people get beat and stabbed and shot and just, keep on plugging.
I think people are a lot more fragile than this movie would have you think.
Yeah.
Well, they start making their way through the mine shaft, and they have to crawl through a tiny, claustrophobic little tunnel. Fareed sees something strange crawling after them, but then something gets them both. And we're assuming they're both dead, but no, we see them both again.
Yep.
Back at the motel, Alex and Yasmin show up as the others are cleaning up the mess in the kitchen. Gilberta tells them that Tom and Fareed are at the hotel down the road, so they leave. In the back room, Claudia complains about the way she's treated by Gilberta, and Gilberta leaves Alex and Yasmin to a big, isolated compound even further off the road. The family in this new place welcomes them, and they're a creepy bunch too. The old man in charge speaks with a German accent and has Nazi memorabilia hanging on the wall.
Uh-oh.
Alex goes into the slaughterhouse and finds Tom hanging there, upside down like a piece of meat, but no, he's still not dead. Alex runs inside to grab Yasmin and go, but the old man calls for Carl, who turns out to be that so-called cop we saw earlier.
Who got stabbed and beat up and is just fine now.
Yeah. Cleaned up, he's good.
Yeah.
Carl then shoots Alex. The old man and Carl talk about Yasmin, but the old man whines that she isn't pure enough for them. Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
Still, she's Carl's now. They'll have to make do with what they've got. Hans the butcher drags them both to the slaughterhouse, where he makes sure to finish off Tom for real this time. We soon see that Fareed is still on the run in the basement of the place. He finds a warehouse full of bodies and body parts. It seems that Hans has a bunch of deformed mutant children that wander in the cellars beneath the house. That's what ran into Fareed earlier. Fareed hides in a steam processing room, and Hans steams Fareed.
Yeah. And then finishes him off.
So people do eventually die in this, yes.
Yep, he does.
Yasmin then swims through pig poop to escape, but Alex can't break out of the cell. The old man, whose name is von Geisler, comes in and cuts Alex's Achilles tendons. He's not going anywhere. Yasmin gets out and flags down a car on the road. Turns out it's Getz, who beats the crap out of her and takes her back to the old Nazi slaughterhouse. Von Geisler shoots Alex in the head, and now it's only Yasmin, and one of the girls figures out that Yasmin is pregnant. They clean her up, and she wakes up in a normal-looking bedroom, but in chains. "Soon you'll be one of us," says the littlest of the girls, and she's the one who made all the mutant children down in the cellar with hands. And, she looks like she's maybe 12? Very childlike.
I think she...
Something not going on.
I think she played it up. I don't think she was really that young.
Well, not with all those kids, no.
No.
There's a very uncomfortable dinner scene where they eat what's left of Alex and drink a toast to pure blood. Yasmin grabs a knife and threatens the old man. Hans is tired of the old man's bullshit and shoots him, but then Carl shoots Hans, which angers Hans's tiny wife. Carl and Getz grab machine guns and chase Yasmin down into the mines beneath the house.
This is one seriously dysfunctional family.
Yeah, I've had some bad dinners, but not like that. Getz catches her and beats her up some more. He turns on a huge rotary saw, and you know what's coming.
You know that somebody's going to end up on that saw when he turned it on.
Yep.
Yeah, and somebody does.
Getz gets it.
Oh, gore. Man.
Carl's still out there, and Yasmin doesn't know the way out of the mines. He catches her in the elevator, but suddenly his head explodes when Hans's little wife shoots Carl from behind. It's always the quiet ones.
Mm-hmm.
She makes a beeline for her car, but still has to contend with Gilberta and Claudia, who both have Nazi machine guns. These are the big ones. Yasmin shoots a propane tank, which blows up all the evil daughters and wives. Nope. It's a horror film. They're back.
Somebody always comes back.
Gilberta comes out and fights with Yasmin, while the little wife watches and screams a lot. Yasmin tears out Gilberti's throat with her teeth. The little wife, who never actually gets a real name, decides to stay back with her children as Yasmin drives off. Yasmin then eventually comes to the police roadblock and surrenders, because she's a wanted criminal, remember?
Yep.
Happy, well, not really happy
Not
ending.
really happy ending. No, she's the only survivor, and she's going to jail probably. Yeah.
Well, it's got vibes from Hostel, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, High Tension, also from French, with just a hint of Saw in it. It really is just one damn thing after another in this unrelenting gore fest.
Yeah, if you like your gore fests, this is a gore fest.
It's a gore fest, yes. And I don't think I'll be planning any French vacations anytime soon. Still, it did have a good soundtrack, lots of action, lots of twists and turns. It is intense, and it's a good one.
Yes, it is.
All right. So, what was next?
Jug Face from 2015.
That just sounds like fun. You know, like you get like one of those jug bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this was directed by Chad Crawford Kinkle and also written by him. Stars Sean Bridgers, Lauren Ashley Carter, Caitlin Colum. Runtime is kind of short, only 1 hour and 21 minutes. There's a trailer in the show notes. And this was one that I completely missed from 2015. It's been out a while.
We watched that documentary, Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched, a couple of weeks back, and they mentioned this.
This was mentioned in it.
And the guy was sitting in front of a poster for this, so we figured, yeah, we should check that one out.
Mm-hmm. And we're glad we did. Well, the spoiler-free judgment zone? Yeah. This one was great, and even better than we expected. We step right into a full-blown mini-religion that is fully influencing and controlling a community. And when strong-willed people have a mind of their own, clashes can happen. The cast and script and setting and everything is really excellent, and it's one to check out for sure.
Absolutely. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the best thing this week.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well,
having said that, if this one is, we're serious about the spoilers.
Yeah, there's
this
stuff in
would
there.
Be better to see spoiler free if you can.
If you haven't seen Jug Face, go watch it and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as credits roll, the spoilers are coming, we get an animated segment showing human sacrifice near a big hole in the ground.
The hole wants what it wants.
Yeah, and it's really actually important to watch that little animated business while the credits are going, because it kind of explains the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica and Ada chase each other through the woods. They roll around on the dirt and then have sex near a big hole in the ground. Ada tells Jessica that his skin feels different. When Ada goes home, she's told that she's going to marry Bodhi soon, and she wants to go back to the pit and pray about that.
Yeah, it's an arranged marriage.
Elsewhere,
they tell her, this is your husband.
Yeah, I think money changed hands too, or something.
Oh, yeah. There was a family arrangement. Yeah.
Elsewhere, Dawai, a man making pottery, seems to be possessed because his eyes are turning white. Ada goes to Dawai's shed and puts red paint on her underwear to fake having a period. And it didn't occur to me immediately why she would do that.
Because she's preggers.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She sees that Dawai has fired a clay jug with a face on it. Oh, it's her face.
And the jugs were really cool. Whoever got to do the potter on this really knew what they were doing.
I didn't think it really resembled her that much, but
enough. You can.
I guess it was enough.
You can recognize them. Yeah.
She buries the pot out in the woods, and her mother points out that Ada's period has come late this time. Later than she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
That night, everyone gets together and has a hoedown. Her brother, Jessaby, tells her not to tell Paul what they done, and he'll deny it if she tells.
Incest is
Wait,
best.
wait, brother?
Yeah.
Brother?
Uh-huh.
She tells her grandfather that she's going to be the next Jug Face. She asks her father if the pit has ever taken a baby, and he responds that, yeah, it has. The two of them go into town to sell some moonshine and buy a few things, and while they're there, Ada steals a pregnancy test. Yes, she is pregnant. Later, Dawai notices the Jug Face is missing, and right then, Ada has a weird vision. At the same time, something tears her friend Eileen apart. Dawai says the pit hasn't spoken to him at all. There is no Jug Face this time. He's a little simple, and he drinks a lot, and, his memory's not that great. Maybe he didn't make the jug this time. He doesn't really believe it himself.
Yeah, plus the process messes with him, apparently, because he doesn't, when he makes
He's
a jug...
possessed.
Yeah, it possesses him. When he makes a jug, he doesn't remember making it.
Yeah.
He just feels kind of weird afterwards, and there's the jug. Well, this time there wasn't one, so, okay, well, I guess I didn't make one. He's kind of confused.
Yeah, he has no memory of doing it or who the face will be ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it would appear that the pit randomly takes over Dawai to make a Jug Face of the next sacrificial victim. In return, the pit will heal, guide, and protect the people around it. If they don't do the ritual, the pit will just kill whoever it finds. By stealing the jug, Ada has screwed over the whole community. Adra finds a jug of a baby in Dwight's shed that he said he made a couple of weeks ago, but nobody's got a baby right now, and nobody's pregnant.
Well, actually, yeah. Yep. Whoops.
Ada tells him just to make another Jug Face of whoever comes to mind. He wonders what will happen if he gets the wrong face. And I think we want to stop right there.
Okay.
That kind of sets it.
Mm-hmm.
You get the idea of what's going on with the jugs and the Jug Faces, and I don't want to say cult. It's more of a weird religion, but it's interesting.
And it's interesting because it's a real thing. It's a real, God force or whatever.
Yeah, it is. It's not just their crazy superstition. It's
demigod,
real.
yeah, a thing. It's a real powerful being that's living in the pit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, the pit wants what the pit wants. Living in the South looks like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Almost as bad as France.
Well, this community...
This is the stay home and mind your own
this
business
community,
week.
It would kind of suck.
Well, the incest angle is barely even mentioned in passing, and that's probably the most normal thing in this film. Really, though, the pit probably isn't the most unpleasant thing going on in this town. It's really good. It's well thought out, and a more or less believable mythology. Everything sort of makes sense in the context.
Yeah, it does.
Ada's mistake has real consequences, and it's all pretty logical. All the performances are near perfect. The cinematography, soundtrack, and everything else is great as well. And it's really uniquely kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. We both liked it.
Very much.
Hey,
What?
that's our show for this week.
Oh, no, already?
Already, yeah. Stop back next week where we're going to have, believe it or not,
More movies, I
more
bet.
movies, yes.
Mm-hmm. And a short.
Very likely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And stop in, of course, and read the spoilers for Jug Face if you want to at horrorguys.com. Check out our newsletter at horrorbulletin.com for the Fu Manchu and the Ghoul this week, plus a couple of extra reviews every week in your mailbox. And we'll see you when?
Next week.
See ya.
See ya.